what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. Unfortunately, the first story is not a positive one. I'm sad to report in today's video that Louie Simmons, the world-renowned powerlifter, coach, the head honcho over at Westside Barbell in Columbus, Ohio, he passed away yesterday, March 24th, at the age of 74 years old. They have not announced an official cause of death yet. I know that he had a lot of health issues, kidney issues specifically. And I don't know about you guys, but the thing that I remember Louie the most from, that is like the strongest in my mind, is that documentary Bigger, Stronger, Faster by Chris Bell. When I watched that documentary, I was in high school, and they heavily featured Louie and Westside Barbell in that documentary. And it was extremely interesting, this hardcore powerlifting gym based out of Ohio where it's invitation only. You can't work out there unless you're part of this team. This kind of cult-like powerlifting movement, it wasn't something I'd ever seen before. Just a gym of all powerlifters that compete together. They train under Louie, using Louie's methods. I've got the Westside Barbell book of methods in my office right now. I used the conjugate method when I competed in powerlifting in my training. And back when I used to watch Bigger, Stronger, Faster, I would watch it like every day. This was back before Netflix and streaming services. I was in high school. I graduated high school over a decade ago. So back then, we just watched DVDs over and over and over again because there wasn't anything to stream all day long. So I used to watch that like every day before I would go work out, Bigger, Stronger, Faster. And also back then, when I was in high school, things weren't the way that they were now. There weren't like a million different bodybuilding or powerlifting clothing lines. There were basically none. You had like bodybuilding.com, you had their brand of clothing, and Westside Barbell sold shirts online. So I used to buy Westside Barbell shirts in high school, and this was probably 2008, 2009, because I wanted a shirt that like represented my interest in powerlifting and working out and strength in general. And Westside Barbell was one of the only places that sold shirts like as a powerlifting business. So I've got a bunch of Westside Barbell shirts in my closet from probably over a decade ago. And I'm also from Ohio, which makes Westside Barbell kind of a little bit more of an urban legend around here. So I wanted to start the video off with that little brief anecdote and a moment of silence for the powerlifting legend, Louie Simmons. Rest in peace. All right, now next up in the news, Hafthor Bjornsson calls out Eddie Hall again. Still no comment at this point from Eddie Hall about the bet with Hafthor, the charity bet, the tattoo, or the $10,000 bet with Larry Wheels. So Hafthor posted this screenshot here from their fight of Eddie down on the canvas against the ropes. Actually, I should specify he reposted this, and this is one of the only things he reposted on his story. He says, "You can bet your ass that if Eddie won, he'd be antagonizing Thor online to get tattooed, etc." Which I agree with 100%. I've seen some comments saying that everybody's being too hard on Eddie, that the fight was only a week ago. And I guess this screenshot was from an article that says, "Fans remind Eddie Hall to honor several lost bets after Thor Bjornsson defeat." But look, honestly, I agree with this 100%. I think if the situation were reversed and Eddie had won the fight and Thor was the one that went quiet on social media and all these bets existed that Thor didn't follow through with, you better believe Eddie would be pressuring him and pushing his fans to pressure Thor to follow through with those bets, especially the tattoo, especially the charity. And I'm sure he would be pushing Larry Wheels as well, since it was his idea to do the bet with Larry for $10,000. Now, Eddie has posted a few things on social media, including a post today, which was honoring Louie Simmons. I think we can all give him a pass on that. But it's not like Eddie has been offline. Eddie is on social media, so I'm sure he's seeing the comments. I'm sure he's seeing, what the fans are saying. And I'm sure he's aware by now that the bets exist. Now, again, in Eddie's credit, in his defense, Thor still has not specified the charity. So I'm not saying Eddie should have already donated, or Eddie should have already gotten the tattoo, or even necessarily that Eddie should have already paid Larry. But at least I think Eddie should have made a public statement acknowledging that he will follow through with these bets. And maybe he's waiting to record a new video until his face heals. He did get cut in the fight. I'm sure he got a black eye in the fight as well. And maybe he's waiting until the bruising and the swelling is not as bad. I actually have faith in Eddie. I think he's a man of his word. I think he is going to follow through with the bets. But I do think that the fans and Thor and Larry and everybody else have every right to keep the pressure on Eddie to keep up his end of the bargain, especially considering the fact that 2 out of the 3 bets were Eddie's idea that he made a big public spectacle about. So again, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you think Eddie will follow through? Do you think he should follow through? And if he doesn't, does that change your perception of Eddie Hall? Now, next up in the news, let's talk about bodybuilding. Let's talk about the Indy Pro, which is the next big pro show on the schedule. It's going to be after the Arnold Classic Brazil, which is coming up in April. The Indy Pro is coming up, I think, the second weekend of May. And then right after the Indy Pro, you have the New York Pro. So Blessing Awodibu, as you guys know, is making his return to the pro stage at the Indy Pro, posting this back double bicep shot at 8.5 weeks out from the show. Looking very impressive. I mean, we all know that Blessing's back is one of his more impressive attributes as a bodybuilder. And I think his updates at this time last year were just as impressive. I still want to see how his legs look on stage. I think the legs are really the main thing that need to be brought up for the next time that we see Blessing on stage. Now, another bodybuilder that I think is going to be able to give Blessing a run for his money at that Indy Pro is Charles Griffin. Charles posting a back double bicep, actually a video of his back at the same point in his prep as Blessing is. I think Charles, like I said, he's one of these guys that he's not as well known. His name is not as big. He doesn't have as big of a following as Blessing, but I think he's a guy that can really seriously make a statement at the Indy Pro in May. So while Blessing is by far the bigger name comparatively to Charles, I think there's every possibility that Charles beats Blessing at the Indy Pro. I think he's a man on a mission. He's looking to prove himself here. And he's also posted several updates where he's hitting a vacuum pose. So he's a guy that carries a lot of size, but he's a guy that keeps his waist in check. He's a guy that can really handle his posing. I think it's also worth mentioning here that Charles is working with Matt Jansen, who is the same coach that coached Nick Walker to a top 5 Olympia finish, that coached Nick Walker to a New York Pro and Arnold Classic victory. So who's to say he can't coach Charles Griffin to an Indy Pro victory? I think there's every possibility of that. But both these guys are going to have to face Justin Rodriguez, who acknowledged in his comment section a couple days ago that he'll be doing both the New York Pro and the Indy Pro. And keep in mind, he won last year's Indy Pro. Now, next up in the news, I wanted to showcase this bodybuilder here because I'm very impressed by his structure, by his physique. It's a bodybuilder by the name of Ping Yun Long, and he's 2 days out right now in this video from, surprisingly, a 212 competition in Thailand. Now, looking at his physique, you would almost think that he's almost certainly a classic physique pro by the crazy lines and structure that he's got. But he's actually competing in 212, and there is an Olympia qualification up for grabs at the show that he's doing. And when you've got a 212 champion right now, like Derek Lunsford, an extremely aesthetic bodybuilder that's winning 212 Olympia titles, it makes you really want to root for a guy like this. I mean, his legs are crazy. His waist is crazy small. V-taper's crazy. I'm curious to see how the upper body size stacks up against other 212 pros, especially if he wins this show and gets to the Olympia. That might be something that holds him back. But crazy structure on this guy. This video, I've seen a lot of people sharing it, and I think it's very impressive. And I think, honestly, I think this guy could do really well in classic physique. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. But look at those quads. I mean, this dude looks insane. And one thing you'll see a lot of times with guys with legs as big as his, they build typically a thicker midsection, a thicker abdominal wall because they're squatting heavier. They're deadlifting heavier. These heavy movements to build up legs of that size, they're generally going to thicken up your midsection. So for him to have legs that big with a midsection that small, I think is extremely, extremely impressive. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to be able to do at this show that he's doing in 2 days. And also, as a follow-up to the previous story about Thor versus Eddie, I saw the World's Strongest Fan posted this on Instagram today. Apparently, BBC 3, the TV station, is going to be filming a documentary. I think it's a series featuring Eddie Hall leading up to his battle, his boxing match with Hafthor Bjornsson. Probably because Eddie is UK-based. He's from the UK, and BBC is a UK network. So I'd imagine Eddie's going to be making some good money from that. So again, the excuses, I think, are going to be fewer and fewer for Eddie not to follow through with these bets. Hafthor's not getting a major documentary on a major TV station that we know of. So whatever money Hafthor got was the money he was paid by the promoters or the sponsor of the fight. Same as Eddie. As far as I know, again, there was no purse. They were both just paid to show up. There was no additional fee or prize for the winner, to the best of my knowledge. It was just both of them were paid the same amount to show up. And the final story that I've got for you guys today. Every once in a while, we have a crossover story from professional wrestling, WWE. And Triple H today, in an interview with Stephen A. Smith, announced his official final retirement from any in-ring competition with the WWE. I mean, you guys know that back in December, Triple H had a major cardiac event, is what they're describing it as. And he had to have basically emergency open heart surgery back around Christmas time. And I wanted to include this in the story because as someone that's been kind of an on and off fan of professional wrestling over the past decade or two, Triple H is a guy that's had a lot of crossover, especially in bodybuilding. He even did the commentary one year for the Olympia. And if I'm not mistaken, he even won the Lifetime Achievement Award from Arnold Schwarzenegger at the Arnold Classic several years back. He's obviously very into bodybuilding himself. He had one of the best physiques in professional wrestling. But I think this is a big story. I think it's good. I think, obviously, the good part about this story is that he's okay, and he survived the heart scare, which a lot of people seem to be having right now. Who knows what the main reason for that is. But he survived it, and he is able to make the decision to retire. And we hope that more people, especially professional athletes, especially guys that are living a bodybuilding lifestyle, we hope that more of these guys are able to get their health in check, take care of it, and able to retire without being forced to retire by death or by a crazy health scare. So shout out to Triple H. That's going to wrap it up for the video, guys. I hope you did in fact enjoy it. Make sure you give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you have not subscribed already, please click that bell notification icon. Click subscribe. As always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. And by the way, I'm sorry I've been a little bit late with the videos the past couple days. My power was out. I'm pretty sick. But I know you guys still want the updates, so I'm still giving them to you guys. I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out.